You're listening to the No Problem Parenting Podcast. I'm Jackie Finneman, parent coach, speaker, and host of this show. Here, we help parents move out of reaction mode and into confident leadership using steady, matter-of-fact responses that build trust, responsibility, and real change over time. If you're ready to stop reacting and start leading, you're in the right place. All right, welcome back, parents. Today we're talking about something that changes everything once you truly understand it. Because many of the moments parents react hardest to aren't actually misbehavior, they're signals. Signals that your child is overwhelmed and needs leadership, not correction. So if you've ever thought, oh, why is this such a big reaction? Or, my gosh, this shouldn't be such a big deal. Well, this episode is for you. Parents often tell me, I don't know when to hold firm and when to step back. And that's an honest question. The answer isn't about being softer or stricter. It's about recognizing what happens in your child's nervous system before the behavior fully escalates. What is happening in your child's nervous system before their behavior escalates? When parents misread overwhelm as defiance, they respond too strongly. And when we as parents ignore overwhelm entirely, well, our kids lose support. But when you learn to recognize the signals early, you lead differently. And that's when things shift. Overwhelm is not weakness, and it is not manipulation, and it is not laziness. Overwhelm is what happens when your child has more coming at them than they can organize in that moment. So that could be too many demands, maybe a transition they weren't ready for. It could be social stress, academic pressure, could be hunger or fatigue, or just emotional buildup from the day, maybe too much stimulation from school or after school care. And here's something really important to note. A child in overwhelm is not choosing their reaction, although sometimes it really seems like they full well know what they're doing. They're not choosing their reaction. They're reacting because their system is overloaded. Now, that does not mean that their behavior is acceptable. It means your timing matters. How you respond to the misbehavior or the behavior in the moment really, truly matters. It's so key. So let's talk about why, when you say they know better, it doesn't apply here. Parents will often say, well, they know better, or they've done this before. They do this all the time. And they have skills. They know better. They can do better. We've taught them skills. They can access them. And sometimes you're right. But skills can disappear when the nervous system is overloaded. When the brain shifts into protection mode, access to reasoning drops right off. And this is why your long explanations to your child don't work, why logical consequences might escalate things, and definitely why lectures make it worse. Your child isn't refusing to use their skills, they just temporarily don't have access to them. Leadership means recognizing when to pause correction without lowering expectations long term. Instead of focusing on words, we're going to start watching for shifts. Signals of overwhelm often include your kiddo talking faster, repetitive arguing, sudden defiance. Their body might stiffen up. They avoid eye contact with you. And there might be emotional swings that actually seem disproportionate to what is actually going on, right, to the situation. When you notice these things early, you can slow the moment before it explodes. And when you miss them, the interaction turns into control versus resistance. So before we get any further into this conversation, I want to connect this to something super important. When I talk about nervous system overload, I mean that literally. Sometimes what looks like behavior is directly connected to how your child's brain is functioning. And that's where today's partner fits in. We have partnered with Symmetry NeuroPT. Sometimes what looks like defiance, anxiety, or emotional intensity isn't about willpower at all. It's about wiring. And at Symmetry NeuroPT, they offer QEEG brain mapping. It's a safe, non-invasive assessment that measures electrical activity in the brain, and it is something you can do right in your home. No clinic required. For some families, having that information changes everything. Instead of guessing, you're working from clarity. If you want to hear the founder of Symmetry NeuroPT's own experience with QEEG testing, go back and listen to episode 168, Mom on a Mission. Diane Costo's story is powerful, and it's about choosing understanding over frustration. Go to symmetryneuropt.com to learn more about how brain mapping and the QEEG works. All right, let's get back into understanding your child's signals during overwhelm. When you understand that behavior is often a signal, your job shifts. You stop asking, oh, how do I do this? What do I do? And you start asking, wait, what does this moment need from me as a leader of my family? Most of the time, it requires fewer words, a slower pace, a steady tone, clear but simple direction, a 6-second pause so that you can notice and observe rather than match emotion and react. Instead of emotional intensity or instead of debating, you're going to provide steadiness, leadership. So in the moment when you notice overwhelm, your role is to anchor the situation. And that looks like pausing your body, lowering your voice, and reducing your language or the tone, the loudness of your voice. So you might say something like, whew, I see this as a lot right now. Or, you know what? This is big. We're going to talk when this settles. You might even just say, I'm here. You might say, hey, kiddo, you're not in trouble. This is just intense right now. Let's take a break or a pause. And then, parents, you wait. I know that can seem really hard, and sometimes we don't seem to have the time to wait in the moment for our kid to have this meltdown. But trust me when I say, when you stand back and you observe and you notice with curiosity versus coming at the problem to try to fix it and solve it and control it and stop it, amazing things happen. You don't pile on consequences in those moments. You don't force eye contact. You don't demand explanations. You allow regulation to return before expecting control. And that's not permissive parenting. It's strategic. Power struggles happen when parents try to reason with dysregulation. When you respond to overwhelm with urgency, you add pressure. And pressure increases overload. So we're just sort of fueling the fire, right? We want to turn the problem into a no problem. So when you can respond with steadiness, you communicate to your child that, hey, this is manageable. We'll get through it. You're safe. And maybe even most important, you're communicating, hey, kiddo, I can handle this. And over time, your child begins to catch themselves sooner, not because you forced them, but because you modeled your own regulation consistently. And the long-term impact when parents repeatedly respond this way, your kiddos learn emotions are temporary. Big feelings don't run the house. My parent stays steady even when I don't. And that builds resilience, it builds responsibility, it builds emotional capacity. And guess what, parents? It builds trust. Does this happen overnight? Not usually, but reliably over time and time again, when you consistently respond with steadiness versus reaction or feeding the emotion or matching the emotion, you're going to notice a big change. So if you remember nothing else from today, remember this. Not every strong reaction is misbehavior. Sometimes it's a signal that your child's system is overloaded. And when you learn to read those signals and respond with clarity instead of urgency, you stop the power struggle before it even starts. This is the kind of leadership that we practice inside No Problem Parenting. Not perfect responses, steady ones. And that's what helps kids grow into capable, responsible humans, one moment at a time. Hey parents, if this episode shifted how you see your child's behavior or yourself, take the next step. you'll find practical tools and support at noproblemparents.com to help you lead with clarity and confidence. Less reacting, more leadership. That's No Problem Parenting.
Hey there, it's Diane Costo, founder and CEO of Symmetry NeuroPathway Training. We've got an incredible opportunity, and we're looking for a few great scouts to help us share it. We're expanding our brainwave regulation services to 27 new locations. And if you know a provider who's passionate about helping people, maybe a clinic, coaching practice, or longevity program, we'd love to connect. We install a complete QEEG-based neurofeedback system, hardware, software, team training, and proven SOPs, so they can stay focused on what they do best. And if someone you refer signs on and helps 3 clients, we'll send you a $1,000 thank you. Check the show notes below for more information. Helping the right people reach more people, that's what this is about.